Peter Falk was born in 1927 in New York City. His childhood began with tragedy. At age 3, doctors discovered a malignant tumor in his right eye. They had no choice but to remove it. Little Peter was fitted with a glass eye. During his school years, other children excluded him. They called him one-eyed monster and mocked him relentlessly. But Peter buried that pain deep inside, and strangely, that glass eye made him stronger. As an adult, Peter didn't become an actor as some might expect. First, he became a government employee. He worked as a budget analyst in Connecticut. A regular life, an ordinary job, a man nobody noticed. But something was missing. When he came home at night, he would look in the mirror. Behind that glass eye, another man was living, and that man wanted to be on stage.
In 1956, Peter quit his job. He told his family, "I'm going to be an actor." Everyone thought he had lost his mind. A 29-year-old man with one eye and an ordinary appearance. He had no chance in Hollywood. But Peter persisted. He started taking roles in off-Broadway theaters. Small parts, supporting characters, productions where his name wasn't even mentioned. But he played every role as if it were the Oscars. In 1960, a director noticed him. He landed a gangster role in Murder, Inc., and people were amazed. That glass eye created an incredible effect on screen. Peter could tell a story without saying a word. Then, in 1968, Columbo arrived. Actually, at first, the studio didn't want Peter. He looks too ordinary, they said. A detective should be handsome. But producer Richard Levinson insisted. Peter Falk is Columbo, he said. And he was right.
When the first episode aired, the world met a new kind of detective. Messy hair, an old trench coat, a cigar, and that famous line, "Just one more thing." Columbo wasn't a classic detective. He wasn't flashy. He didn't shoot guns. He just talked, observed, and Peter Falk filled every scene with that glass eye. Peter played Columbo for 35 years, 69 episodes, 4 Emmy Awards, worldwide fame. But off the set, Peter was very different. He lived a quiet life with his family. He had 2 children. He was married to his second wife, Shara Denise. He loved theater, painted, listened to music. He never fought, never caused scandals. He just played his roles and went home. His friends always said the same thing about him. Peter thinks like Columbo. He notices everything, but never shows off. But in the early 2000s, something started to change. Peter began forgetting his lines. He would get lost on set. He couldn't remember what to do in a scene. At first, everyone blamed it on fatigue. He was getting older. But then the doctors told the truth. Alzheimer's disease. Peter Falk, the man with Detective Columbo's sharp mind, was slowly losing it. Every day he forgot a little more. Names, faces, memories. In 2003, the final episode of Columbo was filmed. Peter couldn't act anymore. The disease had progressed. But in that last episode, when the camera stopped rolling, Peter did something strange after putting on his trench coat. He cried quietly. The crew was shocked. Why was Peter crying? No one asked, but everyone knew. Peter Falk was saying goodbye. To Columbo, to Hollywood, and to himself. After 2008, Peter no longer appeared in public. He lived at home, under the care of his wife Shira. But Peter no longer knew who he was. One day he saw an old friend standing before him. "Do you recognize me?" the friend asked. Peter smiled. "I'm sorry, but I don't remember you." His friend replied, "Peter, it's me. We've known each other for 30 years. Peter's smile faded. "I apologize, but I have no memory of you." Alzheimer's had taken everything from him. Columbo, his Emmys, his memories, but one thing still remained. Peter would sometimes put on his old trench coat. He would hold an imaginary cigar, and he would mumble, "Just one more thing." That glass eye from his childhood now rested in an old man's face, but behind it nothing remained, only emptiness. The disease was relentless. Some days Peter would wander the house, asking where the set was. Other days he would sit silently, staring at old photographs without recognition. Shara stayed by his side through it all. She would show him pictures from Columbo episodes. Sometimes a flicker of something would cross his face, a distant echo. But it never lasted. Friends who visited were heartbroken. This was the man who could solve any mystery on screen, now unable to solve the mystery of his own identity. The detective who never missed a clue couldn't find his way back to himself. Peter's daughter Catherine fought to see him in those final years. There were legal battles, family disputes, the kind of painful drama that often surrounds illness and aging. But through it all, Peter remained unaware, lost in a fog that grew thicker each day. He stopped recognizing his own reflection. The man in the mirror was a stranger. That glass eye, once a symbol of his resilience and uniqueness, now stared back without comprehension. There were moments of heartbreaking clarity. Once, Shara found him holding his Emmy award, turning it over in his hands. "Did I win this?" he asked. When she said yes, he smiled. "That's nice." Then he set it down and forgot it existed. The trench coat hung in his closet. Sometimes he would touch it, run his fingers over the fabric. Something in his muscle memory recognized it, even when his mind did not. On rare occasions, he would put it on and stand by the window, as if waiting for someone to call action. But no director called, no cameras rolled. There was only silence and the slow, cruel march of a disease that showed no mercy. Medical professionals who studied his case noted how particularly tragic it was. Here was a man whose entire career depended on his mind, his ability to observe, deduce, remember, and that very instrument had betrayed him. Peter had once memorized complex scripts effortlessly. He could improvise brilliant moments that became iconic. His brain was his greatest tool, and now it was his prison. Friends from the industry tried to visit, but it became too painful. They would arrive hoping for recognition, for a moment of the old Peter. Instead, they found a kind stranger who smiled politely and asked their names as if meeting them for the first time. One veteran actor who worked with Peter on multiple Columbo episodes came to see him. Peter looked at him with those mismatched eyes, one real and one glass, and asked, "Have we met before?" The actor later said, "It was like watching a house burn down from the inside. The structure was still there, but everything that made it home was gone." In 2011, at age 83, Peter Falk died. The cause was complications from Alzheimer's disease and pneumonia. His body had finally given out after his mind had left years before. The funeral was quiet. A few close friends, family, and a handful of devoted fans who had heard the news. There were no Hollywood spectacles, no grand tributes on television. Just a simple service for a man who had once been one of the most recognizable faces in America. On his casket, someone placed an old trench coat and a small note. "Just one more thing. Thank you." Newspapers ran obituaries celebrating his career. They showed clips of Columbo catching criminals, always knowing more than he let on, always one step ahead. They praised his talent, his uniqueness, his contribution to television history, but few mentioned the cruel ending, the years of confusion and loss, the slow disappearance of the man behind the detective. Peter Falk gave the world Columbo, a character that became larger than life. A detective who proved you didn't need to be handsome or sophisticated to be brilliant. You just needed to pay attention, to care about the truth, and to never give up. But in the end, the disease took Peter from himself. The man who could solve any case couldn't solve the mystery of his own fading mind. Columbo always found the guilty party, but Peter Falk, in his final years, couldn't find his way home. Hollywood remembered him as a legend, but those who loved him remembered the tragedy. A brilliant mind extinguished slowly, painfully, without mercy. Peter Falk never missed a clue on screen, but in real life the most painful clue was in his own mirror. Columbo always found the criminals, but Peter, in the end, couldn't find himself. And Hollywood, the town that made him famous, quietly forgot the man behind the trench coat. That glass eye, which once made him unique, now stares from old photographs. Behind it, a memory of brilliance, and a reminder that even the sharpest minds can fade into nothing. Just one more thing. We should have said goodbye while he still knew who we were.